Welcome to the first ever episode of the Rolling for a Reason podcast. I am your host, John Thomas, and I am here with my lovely, lovely co-host, Dave Bannon. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you, John. Happy to be here.
I'm happy to be here, too. Are you excited for this first endeavor into podcasting?
Very excited. It'll be a major hit. First time around, top of the charts.
Dave is not only co-hosting, but he is producing the podcast too. So if you have any feedback, and particularly negative feedback, you can forward that to Dave.
I love negative feedback.
Well, if this is the first time you're meeting us, welcome. Hello. I wanted to introduce ourselves, of course. We're both from Tap Cancer Out. If you've never heard of us or Tap Cancer Out, we are a nonprofit that motivates and empowers the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community to raise funds for cancer fighting organizations. We've been around since 2011, raised and donated $1.375 million. And we are really trying to change the face and sort of the narrative of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in general. I am a black belt. I started training in 2008, currently under Luigi Mondelli at American Top Team in Danbury. Dave, why don't you introduce yourself?
All right. Well, I am currently a blue belt. I started training in 2014, a small boxing gym here in Connecticut. Just did no-gi twice a week for about 9 months until I decided to join a bigger gym and start doing the gi and training more regularly. Now I train part of a GF team gym in Milford under the Cruveno brothers, and loving every second of it.
Dave is modest, but he is a very accomplished blue belt in his own right. I am the definition of the average grappler. Competed a lot, won some, lost some, but I just had fun along the way. So that's it. And I feel like a lot of people start and only want to do no-gi. I remember when I hated putting on that gi. I only ever wanted to do no-gi. And now you can't really pay me to go to a no-gi class anymore. You do both, though.
Yeah, I like training both, but I slowly started liking the gi more after like a year of training in it. And now I prefer the gi, but I still train no-gi usually once a week at least.
So since this is our first episode, you might be wondering what it's sort of all about. What does rolling for a reason even mean? And it's simple. So there's a lot of storylines in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and in that sort of world, but too few seem to revolve around all of the positive things. It's a lot of sort of competition type stuff, maybe even negative storylines and things like that. So we wanted to highlight all of the positive things that are happening in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And one of the great byproducts of running Tap Cancer Out is that I've been able to hear about and even meet a lot of the people who are using the sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and martial arts in general and MMA and sort of that whole world to make this world, our planet, a better place. And so we like to say that we're punching you in the face with positivity here at the Rolling for a Reason podcast. We're already mixing metaphors because we don't punch in jiu-jitsu, but it's better than my alternative, which was pulling you into our guard of positivity.
It's not as catchy.
It doesn't flow.
And we might get some MMA guys on here at some point. So.
Exactly. So we want this to be their platform, a place for these types of people, these individuals and groups to tell their story, and a place where we can start building the evidence that jiu-jitsu can be or even already is the most compassionate sport in the world. That's sort of the vision of Tap Cancer Out, and that's the vision of this podcast. So when we announced that we were doing this podcast, we had a great response in terms of folks who wanted to be a guest, and now we have a huge list of future guests, so we're really excited. We've got a bunch of episodes planned, but I knew that I wanted our first guest to be someone very specific, someone I've known for quite a while, many years, who has supported Tap Cancer Out literally since day one, since we were not called Tap Cancer Out, we were called something else. And someone who has generally gifted his knowledge and skill in the sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to so many others in so many different ways. So it's our honor to welcome Alex Ecklin to the podcast. Welcome, Alex.
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes, our pleasure. So let's do the elevator speech sort of first. For those who don't know you, just tell a bit about your background, who you are, how you found BJJ, all that good stuff.
Sounds good. So I started training jiu-jitsu in 2006. I started training in Brooklyn under Dean Dunn. And then I wanted to compete, and Shaolin just came to town. So I started training with Shaolin, and I got my black belt from Shaolin. And about a little bit under 3 years ago, I started a gym in Brooklyn together with my partner Van called Masterskya. And so now I'm full time in Brooklyn, running the gym and training with my students, and doing my best.
So there's two interesting things there. One, Shaolin, and two, Van. So we're gonna get into both. First, I just want to talk about Shaolin. Obviously, a legend in the sport. Were you training exclusively in the city with him?
Yeah. So he was. There was a few like really good academies, and I was a huge fan of his. I saw some of his fights, and he was also like a lightweight fighter. And I started training with him full time, and then he brought in like some of his friends along the years that I would train with, but I only trained with him in the school in the city.
So how do you think, sort of as a mentor to you, had Shaolin sort of shaped your perspective on the sport and sort of what you thought of it when you started to sort of what you think of it now?
I think one of the biggest things I got from Shaolin is the professionalism, and like it's kind of like weird to even speak about it, but like for example like to Shaolin, like for example like injuries and taking time off, and not training hard, like these things like don't even exist. So like to me they didn't really exist. So like if I had injuries or something like that, I would fight through them. I would always do my best, train really really hard. And like Shaolin would always like win or lose, he would be on the mats, and he always kept a very disciplined approach for both his training and his diet. Even when he's not competing, like he was really on top of his diet, on top of his physical condition. And so these like professional traits are something that I really admired, and I still do, and that I'm trying to emulate as well.
So your school, Masterskya, is an amazing endeavor. Before we get into that, tell me a bit about Van, because you started it with him, and from the very first time I met you, there seemed to never be an Alex without a Van. So tell me about sort of your relationship with him.
Yeah, like it happened kind of naturally. So when I joined Salins, I joined it with a couple of other friends of mine. One of them is Marshall. He teaches at the school alongside me with me. He's one of my closest friends. And Marshall and we were already purple belts. And we got our purple belts like pretty quickly. We got I think I got mine like in under 2 years. Just because
Wow.
the criteria was just a little, it was a little bit different. Like the first school that I was in, it was not a competition school. It was more traditional, like jiu-jitsu. The instructor is a really really great guy. Just the different perspective, different focus altogether. And Shaolin is like a competitive jiu-jitsu school. And I think in my life, maybe the guy that is like ask somebody, hey, did you wrestle, like after they rolled with him,
Yeah,
I
I
was
guess
never
that a
that
lot.
guy. I was never that guy. But both Marshall and I, like when we first met Van was only a white belt, training with Shaolin for maybe like 4 or 5 months when we met him. But he was like such a natural at it that we were like, man, do you wrestle? Like, what's up with you? Like, what's your story? And we just became friends right away. And we would always train. And I was always like a belt above him. So or like in the beginning it was two belts above, then it was one belt above, and then he like caught up to me, and that just speaks about his his attributes and his technique and his skill level. And we were always on the same page. Like to us, we kind of saying lived in the gym. It would be that would not be accurate. Because there are actual people that like do live in gyms. I think we didn't like live in the gym, but we were there like all day, and we were also we got our teaching. We started teaching together as well, because since Challenge was new, and maybe like 6 months in, a year in, anytime like new students would walk in, Shaolin would always ask Van and I like, hey, can you show, this person, a few things? Can you teach them? And little by little, we started teaching. Then we started covering classes, and then, because Shaolin approached the both of us, it was easy to like coordinate, our schedules and our training, and then, and then we just moved on from there.
So how old were you at this point when you guys started training together and teaching?
I must have been, I came to Shaolin, I believe I was about 19. So I started teaching probably like unofficially, probably like 2021,
Mm-hmm. All right. I want to ask you about your gym. So Masterskya, it's unlike any other B2J school name. So first, how do you pronounce it? What does it mean, and where does it come from?
The real pronunciation is Masterskya. It's a Russian word meaning workshop. And I thought it was like a cool, like cute kind of name for a gym. Like I don't know, I feel kind of weird, like like saying like Ecklin Flores or Ecklin BJJ. I don't know, I felt always kind of strange about that. And like from the day one, like I didn't tell many people this, but from day one, and many people probably still don't know this, like my ultimate goal for the gym is like for it to be, like we started, it was only like I actually started without Van came on board like maybe like a year in. He had some injuries he had to take care of, and he had some other responsibilities, but now we have like, I don't know, we have like 9-10 people. My goal is, for me to be like a very small part of it. My goal is, for Van and I to like, oversee a lot of things, and, provide jobs to a lot of jiu-jitsu instructors, and, to, provide accessible, like honest Brazilian jiu-jitsu, like not only in New York, like all over, and it just so happens that we started in New York. And the gym, it's a donation-based gym, and that's for a number of reasons, First of all, I just want to simplify it both for myself and for others. Like actually, like people ask me like, oh, is it a not-for-profit? And it's not. It's actually not a not-for-profit, and the reason it's not a not-for-profit is because, like, you guys will be able to explain this way better than I can. But it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of paperwork, and it's very tedious. It's so many gears that you have to account for, and I just want to like literally just teach jiu-jitsu and not worry about anything. So that's why we just set up this this kind of crazy system that we have going on over there.
Yeah, I mean, hearing jiu-jitsu and nonprofit is very alarming for a lot of people, and they don't get it. And they, especially when I tell them that it's now my full-time job, they're like, well, so you don't get paid? And it's like, no, well, I mean, we're a real business, and like we have people get paid and things like that. But I heard an interesting term called not just for profit. There are a lot of companies now, you can call them social entrepreneurs, or cause-based things like that, but it's a gym, and I don't mean to speak for you, but sort of another, coming from the nonprofit side of things, it's a gym that it is your business and stuff, but you're not doing it just for the profit of hopefully making more and more money off of jiu-jitsu. It's more to offer this service with a very interesting model. So I'd like to sort of dig a little deeper into that. So when somebody comes to your gym and says they're interested in signing up, and sort of what are the prices, how do you sort of pitch that to them?
Yeah, so I just want to just back up slightly. I studied, like management and finance in school, and I was always interested like in entrepreneurial like endeavors and stuff like that. And a couple of things. So when I first had this idea to make a donation based, I told a few close friends, and they were like, dude, do you realize what's going to happen? And I was like, I'm like, not really sure. They were like, you may get flooded. Like, the mat space was pretty small. The very first location that we got, it was pretty small. So they were like, what are you going to do if you have like 500 people that come in? And I was like, I'm not really sure. So, and I also don't want to like turn people away too at the same time. So, because of that, I decided, a way to, like know who's going to come in is actually not, putting any signs or not putting the address anywhere. And if anybody wants to come in, it's strictly through email. So people have to like email to find out the address. So it's essentially a speakeasy, and that accidentally became like a marketing tactic because people were like, "What the hell is going on? There's like a speakeasy jiu-jitsu gym." But that was only because I just I didn't know what to do if I had like 500 people that came to train, and I don't know who's at what level, and it could become potentially dangerous. So people email us, and we email everybody back. Like we've had like a few like strange emails, like maybe out of like literally thousands of emails, we didn't answer maybe like one or two, like because the people were just a little bit weird in their introduction. But the people get we respond, and then the people tell us when they're planning to come in, and after they're in, we make a joke that it's like Fight Club, like now you're in, so you don't have to email, just you can come anytime. And in the very beginning, I went to like a thrift store and I bought like some toy, like a toy mailbox, and I took this toy mailbox and I just put it on the table, and I was like, well, that's a donation jar. If anybody wants to donate, that's you can put your donation. And it was unregulated, like like for example, in Yoga to the People, the way it works is after yoga class, the instructor stands by the door, and on your way out, you put your donation into the instructor's hands. And I think like people kind of maybe feel guilty, or there's a social dynamic behind that. And I'm pretty sure like most people donate, but the way that I did it, when I just put the box over there, like some people didn't really understand what was happening. So in the very beginning, there was like months where there was not that much donations coming in, and maybe people thought it was like free jiu-jitsu, which I always say that it can be like there are many people that are unable to support the school financially, and they're we never prevent them from training. That's something that we're against. I don't think that money should be a reason not to train. But later on, when Van got on board, and then we got more instructors, and I have to make my own. This is the way I make my living. This is Van has a family. This is how he's making a living. The other instructor is making a living. So we just made a very small change. So some classes now have a minimum, but more than half of the classes are still unsuggested, like unregulated donations. And that's it, so, and it's still kind of like an honor system. Like we say like, oh, it's a minimum, like take care of it. But, in one location we have like somebody that's working that, kind of oversees it. But, in the other location, it's like really unregulated. So, but, very fortunate that, the people that come in are, honest and, generous, and, it's really a blessing.
So how did you work? So you already have a second location. So how did that come about?
So we had, what happened was like, we didn't really talk about it too much, but so we originated in Bushwick, and it was interesting because Bushwick, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that neighborhood, but it's really like an up and coming, like blowing up like crazy.
Yep.
Actually, I'm a Brooklyn native, and Brooklyn is huge. And I was in Bushwick like once or twice, but the only reason that I got this location is because it was purely by accident, really. It was a Craigslist ad, and I went to look at it with a friend of mine, Vitor, and we in the beginning it was him and I together, and we took it just because it was like the cheapest option possible, right? And it was an old dance studio, so it was like easy to transform. So we took it. But what happened was we signed a year lease, and after the first year, like when the lease was about to be up, I asked the landlord. I was like, hey, is everything cool for like the upcoming year? Because I'm about to like put some wall mats, and I'm about to invest some money to make these wall mats. And he was like, yeah, don't worry, I'm just gonna raise your rent a little bit. And like literally like 2 weeks before the lease was up, he sends us a letter, and the rent was increased by 30%. And it was pretty crazy, but we pretty much had no choice. So we bit the bullet and we took it, and we were really obviously unhappy about that. But he refused to do a longer lease, right? So we signed another year lease. So I knew that in the second year he would try to pull something like this again. So it's kind of like jujitsu, right? You're in a fight, and the guy goes for an arm drag on you in the first 30 seconds. You're like, all right, that's one of his moves. I got to watch out for that later on. Which unfortunately didn't happen with me with Ryan Clay last week, because he didn't go for a knee bar. He went for the knee bar in the last second. I wish he went for it earlier on so I could be on alert about it.
Yeah.
So the landlord, so I knew he was going to pull this again, and like 6 months before like the second year was going to be up, we received an opportunity to open a second location in downtown Brooklyn. Like it's more accessible. And we jumped on it. Like generally, I didn't really care. Like I could be just in the middle of nowhere, like, and I'll be happy. But the reason we jumped on the second location was just for it to be a backup, in case like we were going to be screwed over in Bushwick. So we jumped on the second location, and we opened it up in like 2 months. Like we really hustled, and then. We were on Craigslist for a while, and then we found another location in Bushwick, and we just moved before the landlord was able to hike it up again, which he did try to do, so we just moved in, and then we just now ended up with 2 locations in Bushwick and in downtown Brooklyn.
So are you able to teach at both locations every day, or do you have it like split up, you and Van, do some different days?
Yeah, so, the boy band got split up, man, because, before... We would always, but now we rarely see each other. We try to see each other like in the afternoon, and we teach in Google together and stuff like that. But before we would just teach together, and like people actually misunderstood because when he was teaching and I was in the class, like I was just a student of the class, and people were like asking me questions like, "Oh, Alex, how can you do?" I'm like, "Dude, like this is my like lunch break, man. Like let me relax, let me train. Ask Van, go ask him, So I would just like take his classes. So we would like split it up. But now I'm teaching 7 days a week. So I'm teaching 4 days a week in Bushwick and 3 days a week in downtown Brooklyn. And Van is teaching 6 days a week, and he's 4 days a week in downtown Brooklyn and 2 days a week in Bushwick. And some people don't know, but Van actually lives in New Jersey, so he travels like a crazy amount to get to Brooklyn. Like this is like it's sometimes it's like 2 hours. It's like crazy. And I live in Brooklyn, so it's like easier for me to get to the schools.
You mentioned Google. I thought that was really interesting. I didn't even know that you were doing that until you had mentioned it ahead of your Instagram takeover that you did so awesomely for us. So how did that come about, and what's it like to be teaching there? Looks like the lunches are good and free, right?
The food it's jiu-jitsu in itself. It's remarkable. There was a because I released a G-Roll instructional and
yep.
I did it also like donation based. I guess
yep.
that's where like the donation based stuff kind of like just started like flirting with the idea. And there was a gentleman. His name is Dan. He trains in California, and I think he saw the instructional, or somehow he found out about me, and then he just he asked me to train with me, and we just became friends. And like I guess one of my business strategies, it's a very weird strategy that I didn't read in any book, but it's kind of like trolling in a way. Like I throw things out there just to see if they stick. And I was like, and I found out that Dan is on Google. And I was like, yo, Dan, what's up with like Masterskya and Google like collaborating? Like, and I just said it, I think, just to make a conversation, like just to like joke around with him, just to like, I do that all the time, just like random like little things. And then if it sticks, it sticks, and if it doesn't, like whatever. And Dan is like, he was like, dude, he goes like, let me like go talk to him for you. And he put a lot of legwork, and he met this. He contacted a guy named Lowell, and Lowell runs a jiu-jitsu club in Google, and then we, he's just an amazing person. We started, training with him. Started, just visiting Google just to like train on the club actually. And then Lowell was like, dude, like you guys are here so much, like you guys like should like be compensated for it, and you get like it should be like an on the schedule thing, like and he helped us out a lot, and then he just set it up, and then we just started teaching there first like once a week, and now twice a week.
When are you going to get some of the Google guys to compete in the Tap Cancer Out tournament? That's your next goal.
I want to send them up, but these guys, they're so smart. Like they're working all day. Like a couple of them, like we joke with them. We're like, guys, like a couple of them come train in Brooklyn, but a couple of them like they're like, when we're not working, we're at home. We're like laying on our couch watching TV. It's like it's really funny. But yeah, definitely we want to make it like a little like maybe Masterskya G, like a little G in the end or in the front, like. So you guys know, that you guys got a bunch of software engineers that are coming hunting for some necks.
That's pretty cool. So most of them, they just come down, like train on their lunch break, shower, go back to work.
Yeah, it's. They have. It's a really open. Like, there's so many things going on. They have like yoga classes, jiu-jitsu classes. They have like strength and conditioning. They have like tons and tons of things. You can even like make. I think there's like cooking classes. Literally anything you want to do, like you can find it. So. The people that are interested in jiu-jitsu like run down, train, and then they're on their way, and some of them are just like doing other classes throughout the day as well.
So with your getting back to Masterskya and sort of your interesting model, if there's somebody out there who wanted to do something like this, is this the type of model, the donation based and the minimum thing that you would suggest, or is it like this is going to sound like a random metaphor, but my wife and my now wife, when we were dating, we were in a long distance relationship for a while, for 4 years. And I tell people it worked for us. I would not suggest that type of relationship for that long for anyone else. So is this sort of a type of thing that it's working for you, but it's very difficult and you warn people, or you wish more people would do it like this to make jiu-jitsu more accessible?
Yeah, I think your metaphor is spot on. It's I'm actually gonna probably steal it and start using it, although I'm not in the same shoes. But people ask me all the time. Some people kind of miss the point. They miss they're like, oh, that's the donation based gym. Like honestly, like tomorrow, we can change the whole thing and make it non-donation based, and in 2 years we can. I really don't care about donation based. Like the donation based, it's nothing. It has nothing to do with my philosophy. The only thing that my philosophy, Van's philosophy, like what we're on the same page with, is fairness, accessibility, and something that's affordable. It just so happens that we chose donation based as the way that we're going through that. But I think I just disagree personally, just with some of the things that go on in many gyms, not on just jiu-jitsu, just in other martial arts, and like all these like sales sites, like so a lot of the the sleaziness behind it. So I'm like on the other end of the extreme, I feel like, but I don't recommend it, and the reason I don't recommend it is for a number of reasons. Like in the beginning, like our rent was like really really cheap, and I was splitting it with another person. We had like a timeshare, so and on top of that, I was teaching in Koban's Muay Thai. And I was teaching in Shaolin, so I kind of already had a small student base to begin with, and because of all these reasons, it was able to kind of succeed. And I had like a few even I had a lot of people. Like I'm really really fortunate in the respect that I have a lot of people that like support like Masterskya and stuff like that. So a lot of people understood what was happening and like really supported it. But I think it's like if you just kind of just like draw, it's not supposed to work. Basically, what I'm saying as a business. But I think like if people find like other fair ways to do it, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, I think I don't run a school, so I'm not. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but there are definitely ways that schools can still make jiu-jitsu affordable while still being a for-profit business. I've seen a lot of schools offer it free to law enforcement officers, to like military people, or just if you're having trouble paying, let's have a conversation and we'll figure it out.
Yep.
Maybe there's a way to get you a sponsor. Different
some
things
people
like that.
clean up at the gym, discounted price, or other things like that. There's always ways to work it.
Yeah, well, absolutely. That's the belief system that we have. It's again, donation based is just one route to take, but it's not the only one, and I definitely don't think it's the best one to take.
So what we didn't say in the intro, but I want to make sure all our listeners know, was that so we just had our 8th our 30th tournament total, our 8th Tap Cancer Out Connecticut BJJ Open, and our first black belt showcase. We invited the black belts to fundraise. They did not have to, but again, many did, and Alex was our top black belt fundraiser. I think 3,300, 3,600
around there.
Yeah,
top by far.
Beat me. I fundraised too, and I think I finished like 25th or something out of everybody. So first, a thank you for all of that effort.
Well, thank you guys.
That was really awesome.
You're teaching 7 days out of the week, and you're a very busy guy. So to do that for us when you didn't have to is very appreciated. So, I mean, you've known about us for a long time, but that was your first time at one of our tournaments, right?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed, and I'm
no,
sure
it's
why
okay. I know. It's hard to get anywhere from Brooklyn. I know.
Yeah, I get, the way I made fun of the Google people that they stay in their house. Like, I'm the same. Like, I'm just staying in Brooklyn. Like, I don't know, man. The older I get, like, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to stay over here. Like, I have a very small circle. I have a couple of friends, and I don't really do much. Like, my day just always like go, go, go. I don't know.
So, what did you think of the tournament? Your first time there?
First of all, I was really impressed, with the venue. That was, the venue was tremendous. The tournament, I thought it was awesome in a few ways, because there's a huge, I had to cut weight, and there's a huge stress like cutting weight. So the fact that you guys had an option to do it like the night before, that was huge, and that was really easy. Then I thought it was brilliant to separate the black belt showcase on a separate mat, because what I thought was going to happen was, which I was actually confused about. I thought I was going to, the black belts were going to just be on one of the mats with all the other competitors. Mm-hmm. And, so I figured, I was like, it's going to be a little weird, because then, what if my student is fighting? And then I thought it was going to be a little, but then just the way you guys did it, I thought was spot on.
Good. Yeah. I mean, so the whole thing sort of came about where, and I can speak from experience now that I'm a black belt. I certainly don't compete as much as I used to at lower belts. So at any tournament, you're going to have less black belts in general. So instead of just like trying to get a handful of black belts into the normal tournament single elimination type thing, and they're all in different weight classes anyways, we literally called it a showcase because I wanted to showcase them. And I specifically invited some of the black belts, including you, who were big supporters of ours from the very beginning. A lot of these black belts who fought, like Vin Canabaro from Tim Burrell and Coventry BJJ, he competed at our tournament, our first tournament in 2012 when he was a fresh blue belt, and now he's a black belt. And a lot of these people were coach like purple belts or blue belts or even white belts back when we first started, and they were competing, and now they get to be on this special stage. After this, we're going to start doing the showcase for all belts, and it'll be at night and things like that. But for this very first one, I wanted to make it specifically black belts as sort of a thank you. And some of these black belts I had not met before and had never been to a Tap Cancer Out BJJ Open, but we were really excited to have that many, and the black belts raised over 11,000 combined, sort of as a unit. Which is awesome, and we're going to send that directly to Alex's lemonade stand. So I thank you again for everything you did for us, and I hope you had fun. So there's one last question that I want to ask everybody who comes on this podcast, because it's a question that I get asked a lot, having now done Tap Cancer Out for for 8 or 9 years. And there's a lot that I wish I knew, but what is the one thing you wish you knew before starting Masterskya that could hopefully help others? Maybe it's a future gym owner in general, or just somebody who maybe it's somebody who doesn't think that they can afford jiu-jitsu or wants to get into it and is just doing the YouTube thing right now. Maybe they went and found your G-Roll instructional. Everybody look that up, by the way. It's on YouTube, right?
Yeah, it's on YouTube, but I didn't even upload it. Somebody else uploaded it. I uploaded it to Vimeo. That's it. Always, with me, it's always like that. It's always a little strange.
So, what's that one thing you wish you knew before you started all this?
I wish. I have a romanticized view of the world where, I thought, with the way that I would do this, literally, no one could ever say anything bad or be upset or anything like that, and just to to know that even, you know, sometimes even if you do your best, and even in jiu-jitsu, like, you can have the best prep, and, you know, you go out there and you do your best, you can still lose, right? So same thing here, like, you know, basically it's going to be the weirdest advice probably, but like, kind of be prepared to, you know, lose, but, you know, as long as the loss it's not an overall loss, like, such as, like, you have to close the gym down, like, you can, you know, persevere and don't take it too personally and just move on, you know, especially when you're dealing with so many people, like, you know, and, you know, you can't make everybody happy. And, you know, the other thing is that, you know, like, I believe in a very, like, free, like, life in general. Like, I don't think, you know, me as a grown person, I can tell other grown people what to do. So, like, in Masterskya, the only two rules we have are safety and hygiene. And, you know, I would even, you know, even more so, like, a couple of instances happened where, you know, there were, like, some, like, you know, arguments, or not arguments, like, debates, and, you know, people were unhappy over, like, certain things, and just, like, you know, should have probably let them go. And, you know, things would have been, you know, even better. Obviously, you know, you still have to run a tight ship. But I think, you know, things work themselves out. And that's the advice I'll give to people. Just, like, you know, be prepared, you know, even if you do your best, for even, you know, things not to work out, and have a backup plan right after.
I actually think that's great advice, not just for entrepreneurs in general or anybody hoping to start something new, but also people starting jiu-jitsu. I mean, it's a perfect parallel. When you start jiu-jitsu, you better be expecting to lose, and you better get used to it for a while, because it's going to take, you know, it takes a long time to get past sort of that initial learning curve. And forever, you know, there's always somebody in the gym who can beat your butt, and, you know, even when you're a black belt, there are blue belts and who can tap you and things like that. So you're gonna always have to get used to losing. And starting Tap Cancer Out, it was very much a fail fast mentality. You know, we had a lot of stops and starts, and a lot of times where I thought, like, maybe we weren't ever gonna find our way, and maybe this isn't an idea that's gonna work out. But you're better off, and ultimately maybe it doesn't work out, but if you just go and try it, you'll find that out, and maybe you can, and that allows you to start the next thing that you're interested in. But also, you know, you may want to keep persevering through those failures if you're super passionate about what you're doing, because eventually you will find your way. So
100%, John. Yep.
Thank you very much, Alex, for being our first guest. Really appreciate it, and sort of kicking off this whole Rolling for a Reason series. Thank you for your support over all these years, and I wish you all the best in the future. And if you're interested in training with Alex, don't go looking in Bushwick for it, okay? Just shoot him an email, right?
Yes, exactly. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for all your support as well.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Take care.
Take care.